You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jordan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Boom! That's exactly it. Do that. Let's do that. You got me. I'm here for 10 minutes like this. You know what's funny? You always mute me, you know, and then you unmute me when it goes. But I have some other shows that I do that they don't mute me, and so I have to mute myself. I always forget to unmute myself. You know, that's just
like the thing. It's, you know, especially now that everybody's in this whole virtual thing and, of course, Zoom and everything else. That's it's like, you got to unmute yourself. It's like, you know,
everybody always says that. And then people make excuses for it. Listen, dude, you don't have to. I know you hit the space bar. I got it. You don't have to tell me the whole thing. You have to keep going at it. The reason I did it, and then 10 minutes later, you're still talking about nothing. You know, very similar to what we're doing right now, Christo.
Hey, we are going to talk about something. We got a great guest today, but really quickly, housekeeping. Folks that are watching over on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, all the tubes, we're going to find a place to stick this show. We're here on Amazon, and if you've never been on Amazon Live, today's a great time to go and check it out. We made it easy. We went and got thepitchman.live. So if you open up a browser wherever you're at, you go to thepitchman.live, and that'll take you right here to Amazon, because you'll want to be on Amazon because you'll want to buy all of J.M. Ryerson's books. Right, Dan? Yes.
And it's always cool to know someone who's JM. I mean, is it Jim, or do they don't like, you know, consonants or vowels? They don't like vowels in his family.
I think that may be a question.
Yeah, I mean that's like a
definitely. I mean, maybe Mark Fonseca wants to know too. I know he's
Fonseca. So Fonseca is the guy who makes my shirts, and so we got some shirts coming. Apparently, they're ready to ship. From where? Who knows? You know, but it's
probably from his garage.
The world is much smaller now. You know, things come from all over. You could order, you can, like here on Amazon, let's say you needed a pair of shoelaces. I actually did this once. I ordered one pair of shoelaces. It was shipped from China. It took 2 weeks, but I got one pair of shoelaces. Can you imagine that? I mean, that's the world.
No,
I think
I can't imagine how much trouble people went through for your shoelaces.
I know.
And, it was probably $16 to ship, and they cost like 14 cents.
But it was worth it because, you know, the world has changed this, and you know, it gets crazy, and you don't know. You know, business used to be a lot easier of how to get started and how to get going, because you got a business license, you got a bank account, and then you got a Yellow Page ad, and then you were in business. Like that was the whole thing. But then the Yellow Pages went away, and so now there's a million other different things, and nobody knows what to do with themselves until they listen to our next guest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That was, whew.
You see?
Ladies and gentlemen, he does not plan things like that. That was right off the top of the dome right there.
That's right. So
that's an amazing segue. So yes, without further ado, would you please welcome to Dan Jordan Live, author, mindset coach, CEO, and podcast host of a great podcast called Let's Go Win. Would you please welcome to Dan Jordan Live, Mr. J.M. Ryerson.
Oh, you see, there he is.
Let's go.
You know, the thing is, a guy like JM, he's always winning. You know, so it's tiring putting your arms in the air that often throughout the day. You know, that's how it goes. No, actually, I'm really excited because you have a program that does something that everybody wants, which is basically double your business.
I mean, that's what we set it up for is, the name Let's Go Win. People ask all the time, is it about wins and losses? And it's actually not necessarily. It is setting yourself up to win every single day. But anybody in sales knows, look, you're going to have some losses along the way as well. But how do you get back up and do it again? And so, yeah, doubling your business is certainly what we work on. And it's certainly something that we've been able to replicate over and over. But it's really just simple things, Dan, as you know, and Chris, I'm sure the same. It's like, it's not the really, you're not making huge, big sweeping decisions and choices that are changing. You're making some small ones, and they make all the difference in the world.
Well, so you see, listen, you're in my world now, so this is fun. So you're good at doubling businesses, but so the companies that you work with are already doing something.
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting. My world has changed so much, over the last 5 to 10 years, where I always was working just doubling teams, and that was sales teams, and that was working on recruiting. And then now, so often I'm working with athletes and executives on just their mindset alone. Now, typically that does get into sales and performance, and that's what I'm really excited about, because everybody wants to wake up and we want to win. That is the whole idea. Everybody loves to win. I don't know anybody that's like, hey, do you love losing? No one likes to do that. So to answer your question directly, Dan, yes, they do have something going, but typically they're missing a couple things. And that's where I step in to say, hey, maybe some of the things that I learned along the way, stubbed my toe along the way, maybe I can help you not do that as much.
Well, so give me an example. So I love this mindset stuff. I'm into Marcus Aurelius these days. I'm going through all the Stoics, Epictetus, I think that's his name. That was like one of Marcus Aurelius's teachers. Of course, Aristotle, that whole thing. I'm all into the Stoics. So mindset is just key on my head. So what do you do with someone? Like, give me a story of somebody who just like a small little change did something.
I'm working with somebody that's a close family friend, and his dad had asked me, hey, would you work with my son? And I said, sure. And I've known the kid for a long time. I said, what is he looking to do? He goes, I don't know, but he's overweight. And so when I met with him, he was about 280. He wasn't about 286 pounds. And his goal was to get to 225. And in the matter of about 9 months, we were able to implement habits to allow him to do that. Now, am I a fitness coach? No. Am I a nutritionist? No. But these basic habits that he didn't know, that's what we work on. So I'll tell anybody, I can't work with people that won't, but those that don't know how, that's who I love to work with. If you don't know how to do something, listen, you have all the ability, if we can get your mind in the right place, to do that. But maybe you just don't know how. Maybe nobody taught you. You didn't seek it. And so that's where I step in, and I was able to help this gentleman do that. He did the work. Don't get me wrong. He did all the hard work, but just unlocking a couple of doors for him to say, hey, if you implement this change, we can make this. And that just turns into this domino effect.
Well, so obviously that worked with him. So you give me an example of a habit that like anybody could use, not just
so the most basic habit anybody could do right now is set a daily intention, and the other one, and specific to mindset, is daily affirmation. So my 2 sons have said the exact same affirmation every single day of their life since they were able to speak. So my oldest son, he was about 3 by the time he could speak. My youngest was 10 months, but they won't go to bed without saying the same thing every single night. And it's just something, because the world's going to knock them down at some point. I want them to know that they are strong, they are confident, all the things that we say in that affirmation, so that they don't listen to Bob or Johnny or whoever said they're not confident or they're not popular. They have already told themselves, I am. So that's 2 small things you could do: set a daily intention and an affirmation.
Well, what do you mean by a daily intention?
So for instance, today I woke up and I want to live with complete joy. I'm coming on this show. I have a couple of podcasts myself. I want to enjoy every single moment that I'm having. Like you were talking about earlier, did I screw up? Did I not unmute myself? Sure. Who cares? I'm going to have a great time while doing it. I'm going to give my very best to this episode, and then I'm going to enjoy every moment. So often, I think people forget just to have fun, man. We are not on this planet very long. We may as well have a good time while we're here.
Hey, Chris Stone, does he know who he's talking to?
Maybe not yet.
Okay.
Maybe
Well,
not
so let me give you my affirmation, and then you give me yours, and then we could answer Mark Fonseca's question here that he's asking for you. Mark Fonseca is, by the way, probably one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet. He's just, you ever meet somebody who's just like nice and he's not faking it, like that type of thing, total sincerity. That's him. Okay. So here's the affirmation. Ready? I lead, not follow. I believe, not doubt. I create, not destroy. I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader. I'm a force for good, force for God. Set the standard, defy the odds. I stand up. I take charge. I win. And then I walk in. I'm like a flipping animal. You can't say no to me after I do stuff. Something like that. So that's, but I do that with emotion, because I don't think it works without emotion. And so now let me hear yours. And then the car buying public can compare.
Yeah, so mine is not nearly as emotional. I will say that. I ask my boys and myself, are you a leader? And until they say yes, I'll wait. Yes, I am. How come? Because I'm confident, strong, intelligent, athletic, good-looking, dynamic, popular, talented, independent boy with a growth mindset. And they have said that every single day. So when somebody says, you're not strong, you're not confident, they immediately have rewired their brains to say, it doesn't matter. Even if I told them, hey, you're being weak, they know that's not true. And so anyway, Dan, I don't put it with the vigor. I'm actually now pretty excited. Maybe I'll change it for them and do it in the mornings with them too.
Just a little more Muhammad Ali. Just add a little more Muhammad Ali, like you're headed to the ring. Can you one more time, Jam? I know you kind of went through it really quickly. I'd love to hear it again. I think it was
for me. Jam.
Jam. Yeah.
So I ask, are you a leader? Yes. And so once I say yes, I'm confident, I'm strong, intelligent, athletic, good looking, dynamic, popular, talented, independent boy with a growth mindset. Now, I will tell you, hopefully that was slow enough, Chris.
That was awesome.
Will say in hindsight, I wish I had made it 3 words, because like Dan's, that's pretty long. And for people to not, until that's ingrained in your memory, that takes a lot to get that repetition down. Like I probably would have just said, I'm confident, strong, and, joyous or something like that. But that's what they've learned. And what's cool to me about it is they won't go to sleep at night unless they do that with me. And it doesn't matter where I'm at in the world. We're on the phone. We're going to do it. And then it's like, boom, they're ready for bed.
Yeah. That is so important. With my daughter, she actually taught me one that we have, and she built this plaque that's on our wall, but it's just, have courage and be kind. And that's her thing. I have courage. I have courage and I'm kind. All right. So Mark Fonseca is asking, how important is it to make a decision to change?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to choose to make, right? Like how important is it to you? So for instance, again, going back to the gentleman I was talking about, his health was not great. He didn't have a girlfriend that he wanted. His business wasn't succeeding. And so for him, when I asked, why do you want to lose the weight? What is your why? Using from Simon Sinek, what is your why? But why is that important to you? And then once he said, because I want to feel confident, I want to show up as my best in family, in business, I want to have a girlfriend. Then once we know the why, there is no amount of work that is going to scare you to do that. But until you get clear on why you're doing it, it's just another thing that you have to do in your already very busy day. So how important is it? It's very important if it's important to you. But it's got to be important to you, not to someone else. It's got to be to that person, and the why has to be there.
Yeah, I find that really interesting because, most people think of themselves as the most important person, which you all do, but accept other people's opinion of them. Like that's more important than their opinion of themselves, which is kind of weird to me. Which happens, but like Mark says, what can you actually control in life other than your attitude and all that?
Well, you said it though. That's one. I always say you can control two things 100%, and that's your attitude and your activity. And I'll follow that up every single day with how's yours today. And it's actually in the second book that I wrote, because those are the two things that I think is so important, that you do get to control your attitude regardless of circumstance. Look, I just had a very close friend of mine die just the other day. Now, I could choose to be sad. I could choose, and I am, and I could choose to let that leak into my day, or I could choose to celebrate who he was. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not sad that he's gone. Man, it hurts. But I'll tell you what, I'm not going to not show up as my very best for the people in my life today. And so it is a choice. And if you think about it, you could have a flat tire, your girlfriend broke up with you, every country song could be playing, as you know, and you think, but you still get the choice every single moment how you show up. It is your choice. No one has the ability to affect you. Only you have that ability. And I know spouses, I'll watch my kids because they know how to push each other's buttons. But truth be told, no one can make that person feel a certain way. Only you can.
Well, yeah, okay. So I'll play the cynic, which is not my typical role, but here I am. Well, that's easy for you to say, JM. You got a cool name. You're tall. You're good looking. You're successful. You have money. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo. So your toenail breaks. Not a big deal for you. But what about me? I got all these horrors in my life. There, eat that one.
Yeah, Dan, I understand how you feel, and I literally feel, felt, found. And then I go, let's talk about why you're in the position you're in today. And then we just talk, right? Like let's just go to the worst. Let's say you were molested as a child. As awful as that is, you could be a victim for the rest of your life. Oprah was. She absolutely has an awful background. If you really ever want to dive into what an amazing person she really is, she has every right to not succeed in the world today. But she chose not to take responsibility for the action, but to take responsibility for her life. And she said, regardless of circumstance, I am going to take responsibility for my actions moving forward. So there, and I have a good friend of mine, Don, that will say, I can out boohoo anyone's story. And if you ever hear it, it's awful. I mean, it is literally, he lost 4 sisters in one fire as a 5-year-old. Like his family was wiped out. He goes, I can out boohoo anyone, but I choose not to. And so that's how I answer it, Dan. It's like, there is a lot of atrocities in this world, but are you going to let that dictate what your life looks like? That is a choice.
Oh, that's good. I love that. See, these now, of course, you told these to your boys. How old are your boys?
They are 15 and 11 now.
Oh, really? Which one do you like better?
You're never going to hear an answer on that. My wife says I have a favorite. That's not true. I love them equally, although they are far different from one another. I love them equally.
I actually was taken to the table by my wife when my Sophie Bell was 1 year old. So, Matthew, he was my first, and then Sophie came 3 years later, and I was really worried that he was going to feel put out, that, there's this new, child in the house, and we're doing all this extra stuff for her, and, she's a baby and she's cute, and we got a kitten, by the way. I got to tell you that later. Anyhow, so apparently I went overboard, and my wife came to me and she says, you're not paying enough attention to your daughter. I'm like, and it was just, I overcompensated. And I've always, and I have a great relationship, obviously, with my girl now, but I went over and about. Now I remember that was probably the first time in my life that I remember this. I didn't get defensive at all when she gave me that. Normally I would say, what are you talking? But I didn't, because it obviously was hurting her so much and had the potential to hurt somebody else for the rest of their life. And so I remember physically thinking, all right, and I changed on an instant. And I think that's something that people don't realize. Your outcomes won't change right away, but you can change your direction in an instant. You just got to do this,
Brother, and we talked about setting a daily intention. You were so intentional that I'm going to show my boy love that you did almost so too far in your wife's opinion. And then the moment you set your intention to show equal amounts of love or more, that's the point of setting your daily intention. Literally, brother, you just described some of the coaching I do. Every single morning, wake up and set your intention, because again, you are not your past. You are not. You are the choices you make every single day. And I love that you told that story, because it's absolutely accurate. It's like you set your intention not to make sure your boy didn't feel left out, and you did it so far that maybe your daughter wasn't getting adequate amount of attention
at the expense of the other one.
Amazing,
but you know, that's why it's so important to have a spouse, to have a partner there that's going to set you in the right direction to work. You know, you got to help each other out. I think it's very important. And one of those things that when you're coaching people, well, let me ask you this, because this is one of the things. So obviously you're happily married, you have 2 kids and all that stuff. Do you see a difference with people when you're seeing people, even executives who didn't have a full home, or if there was divorce in the family?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Obviously, having a happy home is preferred. But have I met many executives that they were just in the wrong marriage to begin with, and then they found maybe their true love? So it's a hard one to answer. What I would say, specific to what we're talking about and having accountability and people really checking in on you, one of the things that we do as a family is we put all our goals in our bathroom mirror. And I call it the mirror method. And the reason we do that is so that when we put up what we want to do, we are literally giving permission to everyone in the family to hold us accountable to that. So whether you're married or divorced, having someone in your life that is checking you on the things that you have verbalized to the world. I want to be the most joyous person in the world. I want to be the most competitive person. I want to lose 50 pounds. Whatever that thing is, that is what I hear, Dan, that your wife did so remarkably well for you and probably continues to do so, as mine does for me. Sometimes to my chagrin, where I'm like, oh, didn't want to hear it. But you know what? I gave her permission, and she is helping me do that every single day. So that's probably the best way I could answer that is, yes, a full home is preferred. But in this day and age, it's pretty impractical because it's just not the way it works. But that doesn't mean you can't be just as happy by implementing a couple of tools. Your
15-year-old, I'm telling you right now, he's not putting what he really wants on that mirror.
Well, I would tend to agree with you, except for he is uncanny in the fact that he has known what he wanted to be since he was 10 years old, and he is so driven. I wish I could go back and have the same drive. Now, my 11-year-old, I guarantee 100% you're spot on with him because he is, he's going to drive me to drink. I love him to death, but my goodness, he is so independent. So that whole thing in the daily affirmation, when I say be independent, he took that one on full board. So it is like, look, Dad, I'm going to do me. And I guide as best I can, but you know what? No one is ever going to peer pressure him into anything.
That's a boy, from my own heart. I love that. I actually was my mom was a little kind of I don't know if she was a little Asperger's-y. She's just, that's not her, her thing. Very honest and nice and all that stuff. But because of that, and my dad from Europe who didn't understand laws, he's like, I was 11 years old. He was sending me into the liquor store to get him some beer. I'm like, Dad, what? He goes, tell him it's for me. I'm like, Dad, I'm 11. Anyway, so they had no laws. So I was given be home by 8 o'clock. All right. I was just gone all day. And I needed that. I needed that independence. I would have rebelled had I been, confined really at all. So, every child is different, and you seem to be, managing that as well. Now, your work. So here's the thing. You say you can help companies grow and you do all that and you work individually with mindset, which is cool. How do you get your clients? Because there's a lot of coaches out there. They're trained, they're certified, they got all the goods. They got a pamphlet, they got a nice brochure, a desk, good camera. No clients. How do they get clients?
Well, mine's all been word of mouth. I've been very fortunate, Dan. This is the fourth company that I've been lucky enough to be a part of, be a partner of, and so all my clients have been word of mouth. Now, could they expand? Sure, but actually, I was running two businesses for the last 3+ years, and that was a bit too much where I couldn't commit 100% the way I wanted to. So, to answer your question, everything's been word of mouth. And I've been very fortunate. It's the smallest thing that people forget to do. Be referable. That's important, right? Like show up, do what you say you're going to do, provide value. And then just be referable. But once you are, who else do you know that I should help? And when you say it that way, in fact, go ahead and grab your cell phone. You would be shocked how quickly people are like, oh, once they pull up their cell phone, they're like, oh, you should go talk to Dan. You should go talk to Chris. Now,
Chris does need your help.
I see I think it's a Wolverine, so I'm a Badger fan, so I'm not sure that we may clash.
Hey, Big Ten.
There you go.
We have an alliance there, but yeah, Dan's right. I do need a lot of help.
Don't we all, brother?
Well, that's excellent. So what was your first business?
So I was in the financial service world for 18 years. And when I first started, the gentleman that hired me I started with basic life insurance is how I started. The gentleman that hired me, I ended up being rookie of the year that year for the entire country, which was pretty cool because I didn't know anything about insurance. But what happened was I looked at him and I said, why aren't you all over the nation? And he goes, well, why should I be? And we were in Sacramento, California. And I was like, because you can. This is absolutely duplicatable. And he goes, well, I'm not really interested. I'm making a lot of money. I said, what if I just showed you how to open an office? Would you be okay with that? Of course. So I go and I open an office in Portland, Oregon. Well, fast forward, we had opened 8 offices in the next 3 years. And we're off and running with our company. But it was so interesting to me that he had something scalable. He just didn't necessarily recognize it or have the desire. I just saw the vehicle and the keys to say, what if we took this and took it nationwide, which is eventually what we did in our second company. So that was my first business was in the financial service world. And don't ask me any questions on it because truth be told, I built teams. I really don't know much about that world any longer. Yeah. But I was always good at building teams and I guess recognizing opportunities.
Oh, well, so what are the opportunities now?
Oh my
where do you see the biggest opportunity now for your kid's 15, but let's say a 22-year-old coming out of school, filled with, piss and vinegar, ready to just take on the world? Where's the best opportunity?
Well, it's a cliche, and you're going to hate me to say this, but what do you want to do first and foremost? For instance,
earn a lot of money. I want to earn a lot of money.
Well, we're going into sales, then, brother. Like, okay. I mean, that's just all there is to it. If we want to make money, it's either sales or tech, and probably in tech sales if you want to make a truckload of money. But, the industry I came from actually creates more millionaires every single year than any other industry in the financial services world. Real estate, oh my goodness, what an opportunity that is right now. Although there's so lack of inventory, that's what's crazy. So to answer your question directly, it would be sales, and then it would be fine tuning. Like, what does that look like? What does your schedule want to look like? Do you want to work weekends? Do you care? Is it just to make the most amount of money? Yes. Do you like interacting with people? Do you want to be doing it virtual? And you just find that niche, and then it's just putting your head down and committing to the goal.
And you go, yeah, it's you know what? It's that simple, isn't it? It's that simple. I always tell people sales is the best business in the world, and it is a business if you treat it like a business. It's the only one where you could earn a lot of money, terrific margins, be independent, and you never have to buy any inventory.
What's so funny too, Dan, is so often I'll have people say, I'm not a salesperson. I'm like, well, you don't live then, because life is sales. Like, I'm going to sell my wife tonight on why I should go have a beer with my buddy. Okay. That is, I'm going to sell my kids on why going to bed at 10 o'clock is good for them. You are a salesperson if you're breathing. So once people can get past the fact that life is sales, then you find what is your way of going about it. Some are very abrasive and aggressive. Some are more casual. Some are just value driven. Whatever your value, whatever you are, you fit into sales. But again, mindset, just that word sales can have such a connotation for some people when the truth is life is sales. So if you're breathing, you absolutely could do it.
Well, even you just did it. I mean, you combined aggressive and abrasive. Like they can never be. Of course, you could be aggressive and calm if you want. You don't have to do all those things.
100%.
You're true. You're right, because there is a big. That's how social. Even you, a man of who've reached the pinnacle of success in your mindset field, even you will put those two together. That's how socially. We're totally brainwashed with things. You watch any movie is like this: rich, bad, poor, good. That's what it is. There's always a story. There's the rich kid who has a yacht and he's racing the kid in the rowboat who's poor, who put it all together. And even with all the advantages, the rich guy has to cheat in order to take and get rid of it. And then the poor guy does get the pretty girl. So that happens too.
Well,
but
brother,
that's what it is.
To speak to your point, not to cut you off, but I grew up with a very poor relationship with money. In fact, when I started making, high 6 figures, 7 figures, I felt shamed. I felt extremely ashamed because I was taught the pretty people make that money. That's what my dad called it. Now, my dad is an amazing man. Don't judge him on that comment. It was more that was passed down from his dad, which got passed down to me. And that's a lot of the work that I do, is quite literally rewiring the brain to say, look, just because your hardwires, which they've said up to 80% of our hardwires are put into us before the age of 5, before we have a long-term memory, we already think this way. But have we ever stopped to ask ourselves why? Why do I think this way? And when you do, and I saw something come up from, I think it was Mark that said the aha. That was one of the biggest aha moments I have, have personally felt was, why do I think that way? Well, because dad would make these comments, and therefore then as I made more money, well, now I was becoming the pretty person. Well, what about the amount of philanthropy you can do? What about these businesses that support other people? And so once I opened my lens and said, no, it was just his relationship that got passed down to me, then I was able to break through that.
Yeah, it's all excuses, that people are making for themselves and why they want to do it, and they lash out at others.
Yeah, and I had this conversation just the other day with my business partner Jim, and we hear this all the time, and it could be, you can insert any word here, and that is, well, I'm just not a blank person, or that's just not the way that my mind works, or I just am, and so it's BS. I mean, it's just not, it's like, you just have, if you want to be a tech person, you just haven't intentionally, like you said, and set aside time to learn the stuff that you want to be. And instead you just say, hey, I'm going to have somebody else do it, and then complain that you're not that kind of person, instead of taking the attention and actually doing it.
Isn't that funny? And those are just labels, right? They're all labels. So for instance, let's say Dan was shy, let's say as an 8-year-old. Yeah, maybe he was extremely outgoing and dynamic the way he is today, but maybe he was shy. And
hard to believe, but yeah.
No, I was.
Okay.
I was.
So then
I wore glasses.
Okay. So people lump this onto you that Dan is this shy person, right? And then you start wearing this badge because everybody is reinforcing that Dan's shy. But that's just a choice. You can literally, whether you keep the glasses on or take them off, whatever, you can choose to be outgoing or choose to be shy. And so often, guys, isn't it so interesting? Our family members are the ones that lump these upon us, that put us into these boxes and these labels. And it's because it makes it easy to say, well, he is this, that, and the, but we are not labels. Literally, labels are for shipping boxes. It is not for a human being. So stop doing it to yourself. You are not outgoing. You're not shy. It's what you choose to be that day. And if it's serving you, look, I'm a badass. cool. Keep being a badass. If that's serving what you're trying to do, awesome. But if it's not serving you, stop labeling yourself that and change.
Yeah. I remember literally as if it was yesterday, my grandmother, who was the greatest person I've ever met, Grammy. And I was there visiting, and I had just become a stockbroker, and I was talking about all this thing and all this stuff. And she like almost backed away, put her hands in front of her mouth and went, "Oh, he's money hungry." Like that was the worst possible thing, you could be. You got to keep in your place. I remember looking at it, it made no sense to me, but it made a lot of sense to her. It was painful for her that was, that was the goal at that time. But anyhow, that didn't take away from her. She, at 86 years old, went to Disney World to ride roller coasters. She was unbelievable with her hands in the air. And she was dying of cancer at the time. She says, "You know what? Screw it. I'm dying of cancer. I'm going on the road." That woman had a double mastectomy in 1950. I think they used a hacksaw. I don't, like it was like no medicine, it was anything. She was like on the front end of all that. I mean, she just didn't stop. I don't know why I'm talking about good old Grammy, but she was a good one. Well, this is awesome. So how do people get a hold of you? Do you have a website? Do you have something? What do you got going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Let'sGoWin.com. We made it as easy as possible because I mean, it's literally the company exists to inspire people to live their best lives. So Let'sGoWin.com. You can hit me up on any social media outlet at Let's Go Win 365. And yeah, check it out, man. I mean, I write a blog every single week, I do the podcast. It's all about hopefully inspiring people to live their best life. It's what fills my bucket every single day. So I'd love to hear from anybody that's interested, whether it's the books or the podcasts or the online course, whatever they're into, man. It's we're trying to bring as much value to this world as humanly possible.
And how do you, is it like group coaching sessions? Is it weekly, monthly, yearly? How do you do this? Yeah,
it's a good question. And it depends. It literally depends on, I take some clients on individually, or we can do group coaching as well. The online course should handle a lot of the stuff. And then there's an option to go into the group coaching, but I do hand select a few of the, whether it's executives or working with executive teams, but it's been nice as I've been able to just choose who I want to work with. Do they align with what I'm trying to do or not? And actually sometimes it's just not the right fit. And I'll let them know that, and it's nothing personal. It's just, this is where I want to go. And if you see the value in it, cool. But if you're not willing to, again, you don't know how, it's not the won't or the can't. If you don't know how, typically we'll find a way to work.
Is Chris Stone the world's best producer or what? Look at that. How he just brings that. I mean, this is total professionalism right here.
It's amazing. I'm absolutely in awe while doing this because it makes it so easy. We just get to talk. He's doing all the hard work.
Yeah. Well, I got to talk too. So, but and speaking of talking, so you actually do this together with your wife, right? That's
I do.
How does that work?
Yeah, that's that's in listening to the podcast. You guys are both on there. You guys are doing a lot of stuff together. How is that? How does that work from a business standpoint and a marriage standpoint? Because I'm sure, the lines get a little blurry sometimes, right?
They used to, brother, but I will tell you, setting boundaries is so important. And here's anybody that works with their spouse or significant other. Or girlfriend, boyfriend, it doesn't matter. Anybody that, if you're working with someone close, set the boundaries. So for instance, Lisa is her name. She and I, if we need to talk about business, we're not doing it at Pillow Talk. Look, that's our time, or family time at the dinner table. That's our time to be with one another. She will set, or I will set an appointment to say, hey, we need to talk about X, Y, or Z for Let's Go Win. Put it on the calendar. And I know people be like, it sounds so Dutch. If you've ever lived in the Netherlands, that is such a Dutch thing to do. But truth be told, it's brilliant because it doesn't blur the lines between what we're trying to accomplish here and what we're trying to do, spending quality time as a family. So that's part one, is setting those boundaries. Part two is I get the freedom to work with the strengths that I enjoy, which is content creation, writing the books. I really enjoy doing the podcast. She is a marketing and loves to do events. And so we found that together, she fits one bucket so well, and I fit the other one. And it's just been awesome, man. And we are very clear on what we're trying to do. We check in, and if things are amiss, we sit down and talk about it. So those would be the two keys I would say. If anybody's looking to work with their spouse, don't be afraid of it. It doesn't have to be bad. In fact, it can be incredibly fulfilling because you get to live your dreams together and get to talk about it.
You know what? You know what it is? It's like having Jews. We have a Shabbat. We have Shabbos every Friday night, and you shut the whole world off. You know, even if a lot of people don't have to shut the whole world, but you'll light candles. You light candles, and it's like a demarcation line between the work week and home life. And you spend a day just talking about, and people who do it and people who do what you're doing can't imagine those who don't. Can't imagine you can actually live a life without taking that special time that's just for yourself and your family, which I think is wonderful. That's Pete Primo. Many of you don't know Pete Primo has his own show too. Chris Stone is one of the producers of that one as well. He's a rock star, and Pete's
the rock star. That's
yes.
Let's be clear.
Dan, Pete is the star.
And today, JM is the rock star. This has been fantastic. I just wanted to just kind of underline some of the stuff you talked about, because I think some people are in here late and they're joining in late. Go back and watch and or listen to this podcast, because JM talked about your daily intention, your daily affirmation, and teaching his own children their daily affirmation, and how effective that's been. You can control two things: your attitude and your activity. I think that's been huge. And then from the sales perspective, you talking about being referable. And then being referable and asking for help. Now, Dan, I know you always, when you talk about referrals, you're like, well, when someone says they get all their business from referrals, that just means that
they're not doing much business.
You're right.
That's the whole thing. But unless you have an intentional plan to get referrals, like that is your marketing plan. And the people who do that do remarkably well. And there's probably 2 or 3 or 10 different referral programs that people can do. And most people don't do any.
Yeah. What's so funny is so often when I ask people why they don't do it, it's because they forgot or they got scared. It's usually just 2 buckets, right? Mm-hmm. I'm fearful to do it, or I forgot. Well, how do you forget something so important, in my opinion? So literally, I write it down on a yellow pad of paper, and you write down exactly, this is my intention for today. And every single time. So if I want 5 referrals, I'm going to ask for 10. That's just the way the math works. If you want 10 referrals, ask for 20. But the point is getting it down so that A, it's simple, and B, you're not hiding what you're asking for. Who else do I need to take care of? Go ahead and grab your cell phone. That cell phone thing, and I don't know how much time we have, but that cell phone thing was remarkably simple, because it started with a golf foursome. I had already paid for it. I typically play with about 6 guys I know. Well, only one could play, so I need to find 2. I couldn't think of anybody else off the top of my head. I went to my cell phone, and I had like 80 people that I could call that could play. I filled the foursome like that. That day, I changed the way I asked for referrals, and I added the cell phone piece, and it was remarkable. They're like, oh, yeah, you should talk to, and they won't even get through the A's before they're done giving you your 5 referrals.
That's a great tip. So that's your line. Hey, who do you know that I could help with this? Grab your cell phone.
Who else do I need to take care of? Go ahead and grab your cell phone. It's very assumptive, and I'm not asking. I'm leading them. Who else do I need to take care of? Go ahead and grab your cell phone. And I've literally, I don't have people saying no to it, because they're like, oh, well, if they saw value in what you did, they just grab the cell phone.
I think most people don't do it because they don't value themselves and their services enough.
Agreed.
And that's what they're afraid of.
They're scared, right?
They're scared to not only disappoint the potential customer, but they don't want to disappoint you, the person who's referring them, because if they do that, then they're shot forever.
Yeah, they don't want to screw up their sale, and it's so backwards. You're like, no, look, you want them to have your sale. You want to be on speed dial with these human beings. Like, these are my clients. They should, every time I talk to them, Dan, that's the funny thing. I will say the same thing every time, whether it was a first appointment, a sale, when I go back and do, let's say, a policy review, or if they come to me, I will ask the same question every time. Who else do I need to take care of? Go ahead and grab your cell phone. And guess what? They give me more every single time. And that's why I'm able to do it on referrals.
Oh, you see, it took this long and Chris Stone to ask the question to get to the end. Now we finally, you see, people don't want to give up their secrets. Even nice guys like JM, they don't want to give up the main thing. That's awesome.
You got to keep listening. You got to keep watching all the way to the end to get the secret
news.
sauce. That's it. That's sales right there, baby.
Pete Primo's in the mattress business. I imagine they got a lot of referrals in that thing too. That would be big. Well, this has been great. Okay, so your books, what's the name of your book? Is it available on Amazon?
It is. Let's Go Win, Keys to Living Your Best Life. That's the orange one, if you can see it on the screen. And then the second one, if you're not into reading 180 pages, is Champions Daily Playbook. And a lot of what we talked about, it's 11 pages, and then it's literally, I call it a playbook for a reason. I don't want it to feel like work. It's not a workbook. It's a playbook. It's all about having fun, playing, getting, putting yourself in the best position to win. And that's the second one. Yeah, I think it's green. I'm colorblind, but I would say blue. It could be green. I think it's green.
Are you really colorblind?
I am, brother. That's something I inherited from my mom.
What colors?
It's more aqua. It's blue and green. So you weren't wrong.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
It's like the color of your shirt. But again, you don't know what that is either. So that doesn't work out. Well, this is great. Well, thank you so much. It's not often that we get a guest as proficient at you in business and in sales and a genuinely good guy. I mean, you should have seen when we had Pete Primo on. It was horrible. But so, and a genuine great guy. And for those of you who had the luck of listening, man, that whole thing with the referral, there's two parts to it. The first part is you must be referable, which means you need to be great, be your best self, be the person that you would like to refer. You know, be that good and that confident with it. And once you have the confidence in yourself and your product and your service that you're given, you know, $100 and you're hoping to get $20 back when it's that kind of value, then you can't help but ask people to refer you because you're not taking something from them. Like JM says, who else can I help? Get out your phone. Let's scroll through it. I thank you guys so much for watching today. Chris Stone, once again. I mean, JM, are you kidding me? Is he not the best ever?
Thank you, guys. Really.
That's great.
JM, you're awesome, man.
JM, I really appreciate you and all you guys for watching. You're the best. Go get them today.